Please welcome now to the Imus Morning Program from the great state of Utah, Senator Orrin Hatch. Good morning, Senator Hatch.
Good morning, Imus. How you doing?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Over the weekend, watching Fox and other stuff, and when they were debating, getting ready to vote on the health care bill, they were quoting you as saying, if the Democrats think this health care thing is over, they're nuts. What did you mean by that?
Well, this isn't going to go away no matter what happens. Even if they pass the bill, everything that goes wrong with health care is now their problem because they really haven't worked with us at all, not from the beginning, not up until the end. But more importantly, think about it. Of the 32 million people they claim they're going to cover with this Washington government-centered health care bill, 16 million of them are going to be shoved into Medicaid. Now, Medicaid can't afford it now, and you can imagine what that's going to do. And they say they'll cover the states in costs for 2 years. Well, what happens after that? The states can't handle Medicaid now. Then add another 16 million people, and it'll actually be more than that when they finally get through with it. If you add it up, it's really going to be very, very difficult for our country to pay for this.
So this bill that the president's going to sign either today or tomorrow, do you know which it is? Is it today or tomorrow? Or?
Well, it's probably going to be today. I think. Okay. I don't think it could go much later than today because we get into the reconciliation bill probably this afternoon about 2:15.
So what is that? So explain to me what happens now. We have this one bill he signs, and that puts a lot of these things into effect that you just talked about, and the ones they talk about. But what does the reconciliation bill do, and what effect does it have on the bill he's signing today?
Well, the House Democrats did not like the original Senate bill, but they did pass it with the understanding, given them by Senator Reid and others, that we in the Senate would pass the reconciliation package, which is 156 more pages on top of the already 2,700 pages, and that would make some of the corrections that they would like to have made. Now, when I said they might have to vote on that again, I felt that there would be a number of points of order that might be sustained. If anything is changed today, tomorrow, and maybe Thursday and Friday on this bill, then it will have to go back to the House again. They'll have to vote on it again. Now, I believe they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that the Democrats vote in unison against this bill. And they have 59 votes. They can let 9 people go. In other words, vote against it. Because Joe Biden will be sitting in the chair and he'll be able to cast the deciding vote. I doubt that 9 people will go, but I think there'll be a couple of them that will come over on our side on this. They realize it's a lousy bill. They also realize, I'll tell you what's behind this, Imus. What they're really trying to do is they're trying to move more and more people into Medicaid and Medicare, and by doing that, ultimately reach their single-payer system that way. And of course, more and more pressure of the federal government, more and more controls by the federal government. The insurance industry, these people are going to be utilities from here on, and they'll be told what they can and cannot do. And anybody who believes that this is going to save money, they double count. For instance, they take well over $500 billion out of Medicare to put in another entitlement program that can't be paid for, and then they're going to increase taxes by about $658 billion more. And they're going to increase them on small business people and others who are making far less than $200,000 a year. You add it all up, they haven't lived up to their word, and in the end, it's going to be one big federal government boondoggle. And the simple truth is, it's going to cost us an arm and a leg, and we can't pay for it. We just don't have the monies to pay for it.
22 till the hour here at the Imus Morning Program. We're talking with Senator Orrin Hatch. So this is not going to lower the deficit as they claim it's going to?
Well, it's certainly not going to lower the debt. Anybody who believes the federal government can run the healthcare system better than the private sector, even though the private sector has difficulties, I have to say they need. I've got a bridge that I can sell them right across the East River. In New York, the fact is that the government just is going to botch this up like you can't believe. Anybody believes that the central government in Washington, D.C., with all these bureaucrats, yeah, they've been creating jobs. They've been creating jobs for more and more bureaucrats, more and more government employees, and we're still at 9.7% unemployment. But the real unemployment rate is 17%. That's the underemployment rate. Those who've given up, those who can't get a job, and those who who basically won't work. I mean, you add it all up, we're in a big mess, and then they're going to add all these costs on top of all that. It's hard to believe that they believe in this kind of stuff.
Anything good in this, Senator Hass's bill?
Well, you know, they have ignored a lot of things that would cut costs. I really can't think of one thing that's really good in this. You know, their goal is to push more and more people into government so that more and more people become dependent on the government. The bottom 50% in this country pay 3% of all income taxes. The bottom 40% pay basically nothing. And they want to push that. They're now saying that may be as high as 49%, and they're pushing it to 60% of people who will be dependent upon the federal government. As a matter of fact, they're going to have subsidies for people, families of four, earning up to $88,000 a year. Now, when does it end? The simple truth is we can't afford it. The simple truth is the American people understand that we can't afford it. The simple truth is they know that the government will not run it better than the private sector. And yet, by doing all that, that pushes more towards a single-payer system, more towards the beloved federal government, and more towards a natural Democratic Party constituency that they can control in this country and control the country through it.
This does insure a bunch of poor people, though, doesn't it?
Well, they're insured anyway. I mean, in all honesty, we do an awful lot for the poor in this country. We don't let them go without health care. You know, by the way, a lot of the people who will be getting health care get it now, even though they may be undocumented workers. We're not exactly a country that doesn't take care of the poor, but this will expand the poor as high as families of four earning $88,000 a year. Now, that may seem like not a lot of money in New York, but the average income out there throughout the rest of the country is somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000. Can you imagine everybody paying for families of four who earn up to $88,000 a year? I mean, these are the type of things that I think we all got to stop and think about, and I think the American people have caught on to it.
19 till the hour here in the Imus Morning program. We're talking with Senator Orrin Hatch. Where are you? You're standing outside where?
Well, I'm right in the Russell Building, which is the oldest Senate office building, right up in the rotunda. And it's a nice place, isn't it? It's a pretty place.
Now, you look pretty good this morning.
Well, you look pretty good, too. I think, of course, I love your program and appreciate all you do. And I was the speaker at the Republican speaker at the Gridiron this last Saturday. I was disappointed you weren't there.
Well, I had other plans. What are those white? What's that roll of papers in your hand? What's that all about?
Oh, I always carry things around in case I forget something I should remember.
I should know.
And I'm very prone to do that. Huh?
Hey, back to the trying to resolve this reconciliation bill. Either I wasn't listening. Well, I was listening, but I didn't understand. And I hate to ask you again, but what effect? Impact or how it's going to change the bill he's signing today? Did you tell me? Or?
Well, they're going to sign the Senate bill is a separate bill that they had to pass, but the House members, the liberals in the House, don't like it, so they came up with this, I think it's a 156-page reconciliation bill. This bill will make some of the changes liberal changes that they think ought to be made to the bill. It's going to be very difficult for Republicans to stop it. There will be some points of order raised. We'll have to see how the parliamentarian rules. He's already ruled last night against one of the points of order I think should have been granted, because reconciliation should never allow anything done against Social Security. And the Cadillac plan, now keep in mind, they put that off to 2018 for their union friends, and yet that was used to say that they're balancing the budget. Everybody knows we're not going to do that. By the way, they also push off $371 billion in the doc fix, because we're only paying doctors on Medicare we're paying them about 21% less than what they get in the private sector. And then we're paying on Medicaid, we only pay them about 66 cents on a dollar. So we always have to come up with a doc fix. That's almost another $400 billion that isn't counted here, that shows how deeply in debt we're going to get ourselves if we go with these Democrats who think the federal government is the last word for everything.
You know, 70% of the people in all of these various polls said that they either didn't want a new health care plan or wanted to start over. And a lot of those people are represented by Democrats. And I wonder if, and so then I wonder why the Democrats voted as they did, knowing that a majority of their constituents didn't favor the bill or wanted them to start over. Is it because everybody got bribes? Is that part of the equation here?
Well, there's a lot of bribes, a lot of gimmicks in this thing. I don't know when you call them bribes, but there's certainly special payments for different people. For instance, the North Dakota Bank. Yeah, go ahead. The North Dakota Bank is going to be able to handle with subsidies student loans. The only bank in the country. Now, why did they do that? And of course, you can go through, the Louisiana Purchase and the Cornhusker thing, and $500 billion for Massachusetts, $600 billion for Vermont, about 500,000 people. I mean, when you add it all up, there's all kinds of rotten things in this bill that they've had to do to pass this dog. And about 59, the latest polls show about 59% of the American people are opposed to it. About 25% want it, but they're the people who are on the dole anyway.
You know what that would be like, Senator House? That would be like, let's say somebody got you to do something and then you got something for Utah. Well, that's never happened, has it?
Oh yeah, well, I'm afraid one of the things that you do around here is try to help your own state. But on the other hand, it's gone way too far. There are things that every state needs to have, individual things, because the federal government controls so many things in our lives. But I'll tell you, it's gone way, way too far, and that's why Republicans are now starting to talk about let's not have earmarks. Now, there are good earmarks, there are bad earmarks. Good earmarks basically are things that really should work, that would help the people throughout the various states. Bad ones are just consistently putting things in that everybody knows shouldn't be paid for.
Well, on another note, the president's going to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu today. Mr. Netanyahu's brother referred to the president as an anti-Semite. How do you think that meeting's going to go?
Well, it'll go well because Netanyahu is one smooth, smart guy. I like him very, very much. I know him very well. And I've got to say, they live in the middle. Here's 6 million people that live in an area that's surrounded by 125 million people who hate them. And, they just can't seem to, no matter what they do, they're going to be condemned. And yet, on the other hand, we'd like to see some peace in the Middle East. Now we got the problem of Iran coming up with possible nuclear weapons. That's as far as I'll go on that, since I'm senior member on the Intelligence Committee. But let me tell you, it's a matter of great concern. And if you were an Israeli, you've got to be very concerned. They're tough people. They have to be tough to live in all of that sea of antagonism that they live in. And and yet all of a sudden this administration starts blasting them. I don't quite agree with it. Now I certainly want to help the moderate Arabs. I certainly want to help the Middle East. I certainly want to have peace there. And I hope that George Mitchell is successful. But what they're doing is playing with fire. But don't worry, Netanyahu can handle it.
All right, Senator. Always nice to have you on the program. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Nice to be on your program. Nice to see your wife and your son. I really enjoyed both of them today.
Thanks, Warren. Senator
You're a
Warren
lucky
Hatch.
guy.
Thanks, Warren.